Good morning students. Today we will talk about chemistry of carbohydrate, competency number 3.1, and subtopic is classification of carbohydrate with examples. First we will see the definition of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are defined as polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones, or they may be the compounds which gives polyhydroxyaldehyde or polyhydroxyketones on hydrolysis. So these carbohydrate contains two types of functional group, either it may be aldehyde or it may be ketone. Coming to the classification of carbohydrates, carbohydrates are classified as monosaccharide, disaccharides, oligosaccharides and polysaccharides. So first is, what is monosaccharides? Monosaccharides are the carbohydrates which cannot be hydrolyzed into smaller compounds. That means they are not converted into smaller compound by the process of hydrolysis. These monosaccharides are further classified depending upon the number of carbon atom present in them. So it starts with 3 carbon atom called as triose, 4 carbon atom tetrose, 5 carbon atom pentose, 6 carbon atom hexose and 7 carbon atom heptose. So these are the various types of monosaccharides depending upon the presence of carbon atoms. Monosaccharides are further classified depending upon the presence of functional group as aldoses and ketoses. Aldoses has aldehyde as a functional group, whereas ketoses possess keto as a functional group. Coming to the examples of monosaccharides, monosaccharides with 3 carbon and aldehyde group, example is glyceraldehyde, and with ketone group, example is dihydroxyacetone. Next, monosaccharide with 4 carbon and aldehyde group, example erythrose, and with keto group, example erythrulose. Monosaccharide with 5 carbon and having aldehyde group, examples are ribose and xylose, and with ketone group the examples are ribulose, xylulose and arabinose. Next, monosaccharide with 6 carbon and aldehyde group are glucose, galactose and mannose, and with ketone group the example is fructose. The example of monosaccharide with 7 carbon and aldehyde group are called as glucoheptose, and with keto group example is pseudoheptulose. So these are the examples of monosaccharides. In this, the 3 monosaccharides, mainly glucose, galactose and fructose, are very important. Next is disaccharides. As the name suggests, they give 2 types of monosaccharide or 2 monosaccharide on hydrolysis. Examples of disaccharides are maltose, which contain 2 monosaccharide in the form of glucose. Lactose contain 1 monosaccharide as glucose and another monosaccharide as galactose. Next example is sucrose, which contains glucose and fructose as monosaccharides. Next class of carbohydrate is oligosaccharides. These oligosaccharides are not freely found, therefore no name is given for these oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides are the monosaccharides which on hydrolysis gives 3 to 9 monosaccharide units. The examples of these oligosaccharides are oligosaccharides are found on blood group antigen on RBC surface, or the oligosaccharides are also found along with the antibodies which are protein in nature. Next class of carbohydrates is polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are the carbohydrates which on hydrolysis gives 10 or more monosaccharide units. Now these polysaccharides are further classified depending upon the type of monosaccharide obtained on hydrolysis as homopolysaccharides and heteropolysaccharides. Homopolysaccharides, these are the carbohydrates which on hydrolysis gives 10 or more same type of monosaccharide units. The examples of homopolysaccharides are starch, glycogen, cellulose, dextrine, inulin, etc. In this case, the starch, glycogen, cellulose and dextrine all are polymers of glucose, whereas inulin is a polymer of fructose. Heteropolysaccharides, these are the carbohydrates which on hydrolysis gives 10 or more different types of monosaccharides. The example includes agar and glycosaminoglycans. The examples of glycosaminoglycans are hyaluronic acid, heparin, chondroitin sulfate, dermatan sulfate, keratin sulfate, etc. So this is about the classification of carbohydrates.